in this scenario, one thing to keep in mind is always use the factory side of a piece of ply so that when you put them together, you know they're going to be absolutely perfect. With the ends, it's not so critical. But here where they join, absolutely has to be spot on. Okay, waterproofing your bathroom. I'm going to show you how I've done it in the past and how I'm going to do it again today. But before I do, I just want to point out that I've just gone over real roughly with some base coat and some tape just to make that flat. After that, the whole walls, these two walls in particular, have been primed, ready for the waterproofing. The walls here, because they're timber, I've put a coat of polyurethane on them. I've done that because when I'm actually painting with my paint, I've got some water here and a rag, so that if I do get a drop or a spill on the wall, it'll wash off. It won't soak into the timber. If I haven't done that and it gets some of this waterproofing paint on there, it's going to stain the timber. You may or may not be able to sand it out, so you may ruin your timber. So that's the reason why I put a coat of polyurethane on the wall. And although this has only got one coat of polyurethane, the next coat on that, this will have to be sanded first, and the holes will have to be putty. Now, I've got a video on how to putty holes super fast, so I'll put that in a card above here, and there'll also be a link below. Now, I've already cut the bits of fabric that are going to go in the corners. The reason why you do this with this material, it's an acrylic. It's super thick. It actually has a little bit of give, so if there's any kind of movement at all, and every house moves, and it's because of the differentiation between the heat, some cold and hot during the day and the seasons. So that movement, there won't be a crack in there. There might be a crack in the wall behind your waterproofing. This is the reason why you waterproof, and it keeps it inside. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint like as if I'm cutting this in to roll the wall. And this is going to act like my glue. You put this on super thick. I'm using an old brush. And what that does, it acts like glue to hold your fabric in. Put your fabric in. Got to move it up a little bit. From that point, you put another coat of paint straight over the top of that. I go in the middle first, try and push it into that corner. And again, you just flood that stuff on. Try not to get any wrinkles. You don't really want wrinkles. And sometimes it's impossible, Make them as flat as you can. If they are too much, cut the wrinkle out when it's dry, and then make sure you put more of the good stuff over it. Now you're going to find that's probably the hardest part of this whole process. Everything else is so easy, but just take your time. If the actual material starts to set up, probably you're either going too slow or you haven't put enough material on. But just put more material on and away you go. Take your time. It's easy to do. After that, it's just slopping this stuff on for another 2 or 3 coats. For the DIY, it's super, super easy to do your own waterproofing. Put it on as thick as you possibly can. Don't try to spread it out. I'm cutting in the walls first. I'll do the floors, or do the floor after I do the wall, so I don't be standing in wet paint. Most of you will be doing this, and that'll get your job done, but I highly recommend using pull. More control, easier on your body. And again, put it on just as thick as you possibly can. If you find that you're like pushing on the roller to expend more paint out of the roller, stop and then do a dip. I'm going to dip again, but look, I could just keep on going. And that's what a lot of the mistake that DIYs make, even with normal paint. You want a nice thick, and this stuff won't, it's not going to sag, it's not going to run, and even if it does, it's okay. It's going to be hidden by tiles. For those that would want to know a little bit more about rolling walls like a professional, then I've got, I think, 2 videos on rolling walls in a card right up here maybe, or I'll put a link below. I highly recommend watching those. There's more to rolling than meets the eye. I'm only going up so high because my tiles only come up this far, so I don't want to go past that point in case I have to paint. Not sure what I'm going to do up there. But if I paint, I don't want to be painting over this stuff. Okay, we can go a little bit higher than that. I've rolled that in probably less than 5 minutes. I'm going to cut in the floor, roll the floor. Now I want to put another coat of that first thing in the morning, and I might put another one on by lunchtime. So I don't want to clean up 3 more times, so I'm going to dunk this completely in the paint. I'm going to dribble over some water and then put some covering over that so it doesn't dry out. And I'm going to do the same with my bucket of paint that I'm brushing out of. don't worry about the water in there. It's not near enough to make very, very, very little difference when I put on the subsequent coats of waterproofing. So I'm just going to get a cover for that. We'll see you in the morning. Well, it's not morning, but it is the next day. And this is actually the second coat for today that I'm putting on. I want to show you, normally painting like with normal water-based paint, I'll get the width of maybe 2 of these rollers, 2.5 for each time I dip. But with this stuff, just to show you, I probably get so I'm going to put another dip in there. So really, as you can see, it's taken me 2 dips to get about the width of one 9-inch roller. Also, take note, even if you're painting without the extension pole, like I think a lot of you will be, okay, go up and down like this. Okay, probably the worst thing you can do is go like this. When you first put your roller down, it's super, super thick. And as you keep going down the wall, it gets thinner and thinner. So you kind of come back up through all that thick stuff, all the way up to the top, come back, and you're only going over it just a little bit at a time. And this ensures that you get a nice even coat of material. Now seriously, why you paint a wall without a roller extension is beyond me. It's too much bending, it's too much hard work, you got less control of the roller. So we'll just finish off as if we're sailing into the sunset. Before I finish this last bit of, well, I want to show you, I'm going to show you guys a little trick. It's actually 2 tips, very good tips, and it'll show you how to clean the roller super, super easy and super, super fast. Same with the brush. One of the tips I want to show you is that a lot of DIYs won't get the excess paint out of the roller, and it's very simple to do. And I normally use some sort of old putty knife. Any knife will do. You can even use a stick. As a matter of fact, I'll even start with that stick. And as long as it's got a decent edge on it, that's just an off-cut of piece of ply, it's got a decent edge on it. And you just run the stick, bit of pressure on there. See all that paint coming out? Be surprised at how much a roller, or how much paint a roller holds. I've got a knife, so I'm going to use a knife. This is a lamb's wool roller. It's a very good roller. If you have a synthetic and you only paid like 99 cents for it, you might just throw it out. So that's the first tip that I wanted to show you. So I just got, 90-95% of the paint out of that roller. Now I'm not going to wash this up today, but what I am going to do, second tip, is I'm going to put it in, this is just a bucket of water, and it's going to go in there. There's enough water to actually cover the roller. Now with the brush, kind of the same thing. You want to get all the paint out of the bucket. Normal paint is a little bit easier. This is super thick paint. So I've got all the paint out of there. And the same thing with the brush. The brush is also going to go into the water of paint. But what you want to do is you want to put the paint up against the side of the bucket, so it's not sitting like this, because if it sits like that overnight, your bristles are going to be bent like that, and you're going to play hell getting them out. There's a way, but stick it up straight up and down so it doesn't fall over, and that's how it stays until tomorrow, and I'll show you how I clean those up. And I'll clean up that roller in less than 1 minute, and it'll be super, super clean. Now, I didn't always clean out brushes and rollers like this because usually being a professional painter, I didn't have the time, but most of you will have the time. Like we did last night, we put the roller and the brushes in water, and we've let them sit in water all night. This is the very thing that makes it easier to clean up. Somehow the water gets in there and breaks down the paint particles. But let's get stuck into it. The first thing you want to do, if you're on a nice lawn, doesn't matter where I'm at, is you spray your surrounding area with water. So apart from scraping the paint out of that last night, I've done nothing else to it. Okay, so we're going to use centrifugal force with the water. Now you don't want to hold it to you like this because you're using centrifugal force. It's going to spin and it's going to get all over you. So I put it sideways. Now I do that 3 times, and to show you how to make sure it's clean, you're looking for. So we're going to run water into the roller, and we're going to look for residues of paint coming out from it. You can just see it. It's not super clear, but then we haven't done our spin 3 times. So just fill it up with water, spin it again, one more time. Now all up, that probably took 30 seconds without me explaining, but that'll be super clean. And the way to check it is like I showed you. Do it again if you need to, and if you have to do it another 3 or 4 times, then do it another 3 or 4 times. But 3 usually is perfect. Now that's perfectly clean, except for the fact that we had this immersed in paint. So there's one more thing you want to do, and that's actually to pull the thing off. Now this, because it's good gear, there's nothing inside, but most likely you're going to find a lot of paint inside your roller, and really you just a couple times like that until the water comes out clear. And with this, there's no paint on there, but with you guys, I can guarantee there's going to be a lot of paint on there. You put it back on, and you just do it one more time. Let's be on the safe side. And voila. Now with washing out the brush, most people today buy some pretty decent brushes, and without one of these, which is the wire brush, of course, you're not going to be able to maintain the best that you can with your brushes. So when cleaning your brush, instead of just having to hold it and run that through, put it down on your can. You know, and I've used 2x4s. I've used my tailgate on my truck, but you put that down so you hold it down nice and steady, and you run the brush through there. Tip it upside down, squeeze it. That's one wash. We're going to do 2 more. Okay, bucket of clean water, second wash. Now you can be pretty brutal if you've got some decent brushes. And what you want to do is you want to start smashing that brush into the bottom. Tip it upside down, squeeze again. Now because we've soaked it overnight, there's absolutely nothing coming out of that brush. You give it a little tap. We'll give it a wipe. Now also, this is an old brush, so I don't have the jacket, but you'd also keep your jackets. And when I'm finished with my good brushes, they go back into their jackets and it keeps their shape. So never throw away the jackets that they come in. I'm Rick. Have a fantastic day, and like always, stay safe, everyone. And we'll see you at the next video.